There had been some nerves on the yes side, concerns that fear of higher taxes or apathy might mean the voters delivered a mixed message. But in the event, the final tally showed a huge majority for the pro-devolution camp on both questions. Just over 60% of those eligible to vote did so. Of those, almost three-quarters, 74%, supported a Scottish Parliament. Fewer than 26% voted against. More than 63% were in favour of giving a Scottish Parliament tax-varying powers. About 37% were opposed.
In Edinburgh this morning, they were celebrating with drums. Devolution had been delivered and they wanted everyone to know it. 300 years ago, the politicians who signed away their parliament in the Act of Union were stoned in these streets. Today, the Prime Minister received a very different kind of reception. In return, he congratulated the crowd for voting for Home Rule, a process, he said, which would usher in a new era of change, renewal and modernity for government throughout the United Kingdom.
My predecessor, John Smith, spoke of this as unfinished business. In this referendum, we have begun the task of finishing that business. And the benefit will not just be here in Scotland, but throughout the United Kingdom.
The process began in the early hours when the smallest council area of Scotland, Clackmannan, delivered an emphatic double yes vote in favour of a Scottish Parliament with tax-raising powers.
The votes cast for I agree that there should be a Scottish Parliament, 18,790, representing 80% of the ballot.
It was a result which was to set the scene for an historic verdict from the Scottish people. As it was being announced, counting at 32 local government areas across the country was continuing into the early hours. The turnout, though lower than in the general election, was higher than many had expected. Almost two-thirds of those eligible to vote had done so.
39,051, representing 84.7% of the ballot votes cast.
Declaration after declaration went the devolutionists' way. Areas like Shetland, which voted against a parliament in the 1979 referendum, this time went with it. As did East Renfrewshire, traditionally a conservative area where many opponents of Home Rule felt they had their best chance of success. It was clear the devolutionists had secured a stunning victory. And one which was celebrated long into the night. At the official party hosted by Scotland Forward, the umbrella group which had coordinated the campaign for devolution, all political rivalries were forgotten amid the music and the dance.
Well, this is the most momentous Scottish occasion for 300 years in terms of the political scene, so it's a wonderful night, it's a great night, we're all having a great time. I must say I dragged myself out in the middle of the night thinking, will I be able to stay awake for this? But I feel wide awake now, because I just feel, how can you be in your bed asleep with this going on?
It's a new start, a new beginning.
A new era. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
The result of the referendum has established beyond doubt the settled will of the Scottish people. What it does not clarify is whether this is the start of a process or the end of one. Whether, as the critics claim, Scotland has embarked on a long, slow journey towards full independence, or whether, as Mr. Blair claims, devolution will anchor it more firmly within the Union. Andrew Cassell, BBC News, Edinburgh.
Well, the creation of a new Scottish Parliament will be one of the biggest changes in Britain's constitution since the original Act of Union between England and Scotland 290 years ago. But it'll be several years before the new Parliament actually sits for the first time. The next step is the introduction of a government bill legislating for a Scottish Parliament before the end of the year. Once that's passed, elections to the new body will probably be held in May 1999. It's hoped the Parliament will then meet for the first time at the start of the year 2000.
Signed, sealed and delivered. No one expected such a big victory for the devolutionists. The parties which campaigned alongside Labour are claiming their share of the credit. But Labour's credibility was most at stake. And as the final tally was handed over, Labour's share of the credit sounded more equal than the others.
Tony Blair was particularly keen that we should test public opinion, that we should get popular endorsement in order to proceed. We took that on, and we've come through with flying colours, and the real heroes are the people of Scotland, who right across the board, irrespective of geographical area, gave us the kind of endorsement, the kind of evidence of their settled will, which we had been hoping for.
Still on the move and looking for the best route to a political comeback. The Tories are the big losers. William Hague's touring the country, trying to win back friends for his party. The Tory leader hoped the Scots shared his doubts about a tax-varying Parliament. Not many did. The Tories still look like a lonely political force, and Mr Hague is accepting the verdict.
We respect the views of the people of Scotland, but there's nothing ever embarrassing about standing up for what you believe. And that is what we've done in the referendum campaign. That's what we'll continue to do in the Welsh referendum campaign. We fear for the future of the United Kingdom. It's right that we should say that. It's right that we should point that out to people. That's our duty to do so.
Today's headlines are proclaiming a new political era for Scotland and the UK. Ironically, the Tories will get back the foothold in Scotland they lost in May under the proportional voting system for Edinburgh. But the Liberal Democrats and the SNP are doing all they can to draw attention to their part in last night's drama. The alliance was never meant to last, but it worked.
The unity we had during this campaign was perfectly genuine. We actually believe that the proposals which the Scottish people have so overwhelmingly endorsed will lead to the better government of Scotland, but we also agreed that no matter what endpoint we want to see, that will only be determined by a vote of the people.
I think what marked the Yes campaign was our honesty. I mean, I didn't pretend I was in favour of the Union. Donald Dewar didn't pretend he was in favour of independence. What we said was we have a different view on the best future for Scotland. But what we agree on is that the Scottish people have the absolute right to determine that future.
Labour's back at work already. The Chancellor, Gordon Brown, reinforced his party's effort to do in Wales what the devolutionists did in Scotland. In Wales, opinions seem more finely balanced, and the pro-devolution vote may be harder to get out. Ministers are hoping the Welsh will take their lead from Scotland.
I believe that, almost like the genie out of the bottle, the momentum now for modernisation has been created. And I am absolutely confident that that momentum will generate here in Wales over the next week or so a great deal of excitement, and it will lead us to a tremendous victory for the people of Wales, for our democracy next Thursday.
Labour's phenomenal run of success since the election isn't over yet. Constitutional change is often described as historic. In this case, it's no exaggeration. For the first time in 3 centuries, Scotland is to have its own parliament, and the change in the voting system here will be seen by some as a step closer to change at Westminster. John Pienaar, BBC News at Labour headquarters in Glasgow.
Well, earlier I spoke to the leader of the Scottish